Welcome back. Welcome at all. Another Master Duel video. This time we have Gravekeeper Stun, better name Necrovalley Stun, because it's essentially just Necrovalley, but we use the Gravekeeper cards to get it out, meaning that we do play the Gravekeeper's Commandant, we have a singular Gravekeeper's Heretic, and we play the Necrovalley Throne to get to the Gravekeeper's Commandant and potentially then the Necrovalley. A usual endboard that we would like to end on would be Fossil Dyna Pachycephalo, or however you pronounce that dude, and obviously the Necrovalley with any sort of back row. We play triple Card of Demise and triple Pot of Extravagance simply to get through our deck faster, find some of our creatures to be able to beat down on our opponent. We always want to go first. If we do not go first, we have some options. We have the Dyna, which can be set, and as soon as it's flipped faced up, it usually ends up in a board wipe with, unless our opponent has a monster negate. We also play one evenly. It's unlikely to draw it, but if we do, there is that. In the sideboard, this is literally just random cards. You do not need anything in the sideboard. I just put in whatever I wanted to. Potential, like big stuff helps because we do play triple Dogmatika's Punishment. If you have Entis, go for it. I don't. You really don't need it. I'm not playing it. I'm currently in Platinum 1 and I have had some success with this. And the last highlight card that we have in this deck list is Royal Tribute. It is specifically a card that can be only used if we have a Necrovalley, but it gets rid of all creatures, meaning that if we do go first, and we have a Necrovalley in play, we can essentially just say no to our opponent as long as he's not playing Eldritch, and he is destroyed. Other cards that you could play in this deck is just every single other budget trap card, like Torrential Tribute and Lost Wind, for example. Chalice can be played over Impermanence, and so forth and so on. Obviously, you can also play Vanity's Emptiness and Imperial Order. I just choose not to. If you have cards like Regeki, Lightning Storm, or Harpy's Feather Duster, you can also include them into the deck. This would help you with the going second games. I just like to use it as a fun and quick way to win games, because as soon as you get either a Dyna or a Inspector Border onto the field with a Necrovalley, the opponent most of the times can't do anything. Yeah, other cards that you can try to play in this, except for the budget variants, would be a third Inspector Border. If you like the combination of having the Heretic and a Torrential Tribute, then that obviously is also a combination that you can play. Because the special thing is that the Heretic does not get destroyed if you have a Necrovalley. A card that you cannot play in this deck, however, is Skill Drain, because it will also negate all of the effects from your monsters, which is counterproductive. So without further ado, let's take this deck into a game. At least one, depending on how fast/slow this game goes. We might go for another one. And let's see how lucky we are. Okay, we start off first game going first. Wonderful. There are some amazingly funny games where you Royal Tribute and the opponent discards their entire hand. And because you have Necrovalley out, they literally lose their entire hand. There is nothing that they can do. As you can see, we start off with a really bad hand. We only have a Solemn Strike and an Infinite Impermanence for our turn. We kind of have to start off with a Pot of Extravagance. It genuinely doesn't matter what we banish here. He does max C. That doesn't do anything against us because we don't have anything to special summon. Like, our deck literally cannot special summon. We drew an additional Dogmatika Punishment, and now it kind of matters what we banished. Nothing relevant, though. Okay, we do not need the evenly, and we already have a Dogmatika, so we go for the Necrovalley Throne. We will activate this, getting us the Gravekeeper Commandant to our hand. Is it a Commandant? Yep, it is a Commandant. I'm saying it correctly, thankfully, which we can now discard as well. We already went through a decent chunk of our deck. And Necrovalley is online, and we just triple set and say go. Now he can have a duster. We can't really do anything against that. But yeah, we don't know what our opponent is playing. We just know that he wasted a MXC. This card in my hand is a Hidden Temple of Necrovalley. It's essentially another Dyna. It prevents special summons, but we do need a Gravekeeper monster and Necrovalley in play. That's why it's only one off in this deck, simply because it's unlikely. This is really annoying. Sadly, we cannot stop it whatsoever. So go for it. I don't know what he's thinking so hard, but okay. I'm going to wait with Solemn Strike till he has an Xyz monster so that he loses as much as possible. He's getting a Swallow into hand. Normal summon, no, special summoning the Lyralisk Kobold off of the effect. I don't think this matters yet. He's going to add another one into his hand. He hasn't normal summoned yet. And yeah. Again, I'd rather use the Solemn Strike on an Xyz monster. I'd rather use the Dogmatika Punishment on an Xyz monster. So, yeah. An Infinite Impermanence is like my last resort. He adds the Nerval. What is his next play? Activating Tenki. There is nothing that we can really do against that, because both the punishment and the Infinite Impermanence only stop him from using creature effects. That acts him the Fractal. He special summons the Swallow with its own effect. Again, not going to stop him from doing that whatsoever. All of this is still okay. Again, all of this is okay. I assume. Oh, a Heretic. Okay. And we Solemn Strike that. We take 1500, it goes to the graveyard, and because we have a Necrovalley on the field, he literally cannot get these monsters out. He can activate its effects in there, but I'm pretty sure they're also negated. Negate any card effect that would move a card. Okay. That changes types or attribute in the graveyard. And he special summons the Keras, which we will literally just blow up. We do not need the Infinite Impermanence here. We will get rid of... This is a Destroy, if I'm not wrong. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one monster on the field, destroy it. And this is a bounce or a shuffle? Shuffle it into the deck. We will use the shuffle here with the add Pegasus. Wind Pegasus add Ignister. Okay. Leaving him with one hand card and a tanky, and he literally cannot use his graveyard whatsoever. We do get a Commandant. I will use the Pot of Extravagance first, because we have to do it first in the main. It has to be the first card used in the main phase, giving us more cards. He has another Maxi. I'm sorry, mate, but we will literally not be playing into that Maxi. And that essentially already shows that there is nothing that he can now do. We activate this, preventing him from special summoning whatsoever. And we just go battle beatdown. So now we do have a 2100 beater on the field. Our opponent is incapable of special summoning. We still have an Infinite Impermanence, and all of his graveyard effect, and all of his cards are locked into the graveyard for essentially forever. I don't know how he gets out of this position. Maybe if he has if he top decks Duster into another Bird Call. I can see that being his best choice here. He sets a monster and surrenders. Again, this is a stun deck. From this position on, we are just heavily favored. He draws one card per turn. And that's essentially it. What he could have done maybe was wait 1 or 2 turns, collect all of the cards that he can have into his hand, and hope that we draw no negates. We already had a monster negate on the field, though, with the Infinite Impermanence, so I'm not sure how likely that would have been for him. But that was a fast game, so we will just go into another game. Maybe we will be unlucky, lose the coin toss. No, we win again. Wow. In the other video, we also won 2 coin tosses in a row. We will be going again. We will be going first again. Let's see how lucky we will get this time around. We did not have a good hand last time around. This is not a good hand either. If he does have an Ash, we will literally have to pass on Solemn Judgement, Infinite Impermanence. We will always banish any 6 cards. It genuinely does not matter. Again, it does not matter what you have in your extra deck. It will get banished 90% of the time. If you have a random Skull Knight or a Wind Pegasus ad Ignister, then that's good, but you do not need it for this deck whatsoever. If you don't want to run the risk, just play Royal play Royal Tribute anyways. You do want to play Royal Tribute if you want to play this deck, but play Torrential Tribute if you don't want to run Dogmatika Punishment. You do get 3 of the 5-headed dragon, namely this. You do get this from the story, so there is no point in not getting it. So yeah, maybe our opponent is also playing a stun deck, or he is just incredibly unlucky. It looks like he has Max C. As you've seen last game, we do not care about Max C whatsoever. I will be playing it in the far left column here because we do not want any Mech Knights shenanigans. Sadly, we want to set the strike, so there is nothing we can do about it anyways. And we will just start with our beatdown. It doesn't seem though as though he has any traps set, so maybe it is Sky Striker with a bad opening, no ace, and he literally just passes again. Okay, we draw another card, another Dyna. Sure, let's go greedy. Usually I wouldn't do this because you want to have a backup in our hand, but we have a Solemn Judgement and a Solemn Strike on the field, and the less draws we can give him to out both of those cards, the better. So yeah, here we go. This also means that he now has to deal with both if he does want to or need to special summon. Ooh. Begin. That's a world. This is the World Challenge board. I literally just noticed. Most likely this is an Ash set. Wow. I will not be playing the third though. Again, I think this is an Ash set. We do not have anything to get rid of it. It's not. So our opponent plays Numer on OTK presumably, and he just did not get the field spell or any good way to get to the field spell. So as soon as we put the Fossil Dyna onto the board, we essentially won the game. We are 2-0. The video is not long yet, so let's go for a third match. Let's go. Again, maybe we will lose this coin flip. If we do win, I will literally always choose to go first. There is no reason for us not to do that. Our opponent chooses this time around. Let's see if we will go first. Sometimes they are an OTK deck. Seems like they are an OTK deck. Let's see if we can prevent them from OTKing us. 1 turn KO. Or in this case, it would even be an FTK because it's their first turn. Not necessarily ours, but theirs. We will start off by using a Pot of Duality. I could have activated the Inspector Border first so that he cannot Ash us, but it doesn't appear to be a big issue anyways. We will get the Necrovalley here over anything else, because we just do not need to risk this. I will use the Inspector Border first. If you have a Commandant in hand and an Inspector Border, you need to use the Commandant before the Inspector Border. Otherwise, you are just going to make it impossible for you to activate the Commandant, because Inspector Border only makes it so that you can only activate the amount of monster effects as however many links, exes, or rituals are on the field. This is really annoying. He still can't activate any monster effects. If he is a Crusadia deck, we might be in trouble. Or if he's any deck that has a Link 1, we might be in trouble. But it doesn't look like he is. Otherwise, he would have Windmill Slammed something. Okay, he just passes. Fine with me. And we literally draw the other Necrovalley. We do play 3 of it, but this is still unlucky for our opponent if he in fact does need his graveyard. And I will literally just go again. I'm not setting the evenly matched here simply because it's our only big out if he completely destroys our board, and it can be used from hand if we don't control a single card. Also, it plays around cards that cannot be targeted or are unaffected by card effects because our opponent is essentially the one that's being affected. Now, if he is Strabigate, this might be a Nerval set, so we would not be capable of beating over that. We do have a Pot of Extravagance, though. This is an issue with this deck. If he has a big creature that you cannot out, the only ways to get around this is Dogmatika Punishment. And yeah, our opponent is not on a top tier deck. As you saw, I am in Platinum 1, so I'd assumed that the players would be somewhat more competitive. But again, in Platinum 1, you cannot drop any lower, so I can risk my win-loss ratio and play different types of decks. And this time around, it's Gravekeepers. It is discard effects. I assume he's just not drawing any discard cards. Or it wouldn't even matter because, again, he could not activate any monster effects. What is he going to destroy? All attack position monsters. Luckily, we did draw another Inspector Border. And he's playing the Danger package. Okay, is he playing 60 cards? Doesn't seem to be. But again, as I said, the Necrovalley does negate any effects that move them. And we are apparently just a sniper over here. He can add another danger. He gets the Bigfoot. The Bigfoot is going to hurt us. And now the Bigfoot comes onto the field, destroying our set Inspector Border. So sadly, yeah, if he hadn't Lightning Stormed us, we would have been in a good position. He is going to destroy our Inspector Border here, though. Unless he links it off. I don't know what our opponent is playing. Like, I genuinely do not know. Okay. Mask change. Discarding a Fossil Fusion. What is this deck? Getting Dark Law. Okay. Once per turn, if your opponent adds cards from their deck to their hand, you can banish one random card from your opponent's hand. Okay. Not a fan. We will have to set the evenly here, though, so that's that. Okay, he gets a Dark Calling. We want him to make his biggest board possible so that we can just evenly him. But this doesn't look too good for us. I'm kind of confused why he went second. There's the Pot of Avarice. Okay. Let's see how far he can extend. The more stuff he gets onto the board, the better our evenly matched will be. Yeah, that does not work. Necrovalley negates that effect. Makes sense. Now evenly matched is sadly also dead because we would also have 2 permanent cards on our field as soon as we flipped it. So I will be setting these simply to activate Card of Demise in our hand while having an empty hand to draw the most amount of cards. None of these cards are particularly helpful. And he gets to banish one anyways. And this is sadly a loss for us. We are going to say GG and surrender with dignity. Sadly, our lock got broken by the Lightning Storm and the Feather Duster, so our opponent did have a lot going on for him on that side. 2 board wipes is a bit much, but again, this is not necessarily a budget deck. It is, however, a quite decent stun deck, and it's different from the other stun decks. If you have already played a few stun decks before, then you should have Judgment and Strike. You probably already have a Card of Demise. You might also even have an Inspector Border and a Dyna. So all you really need then is Royal Tribute and sadly the triple UR Necrovalley. Again, none of the side extra deck matters. You can play whatever you want. The bigger the better for your Dogmatika Punishment. Other cards that you can play are Torrential Tribute and any other traps that help you, like Imperial Order. If we had an Imperial Order in this match, he could not have Lightning Stormed us and we would have won. But those are hearsay arguments. However, I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you do, please leave a like. If you didn't enjoy the video, please leave a dislike. And if you are so kind, tell me what I could improve on this format that I'm currently doing. Otherwise, maybe give this deck a try. If you want a more competitive deck, there is already a video on my channel where I'm playing Virtual World, which is my best deck, and I would argue one of the most competitive decks that are currently in Master Duel. Otherwise, have a nice day and hopefully see you next time.